We are
Hello.
live. Hello. Advance
Hello.
notice to anyone whom this will bother. I have not had dinner yet, so as I showed Robin earlier, I am cradling some pizza tenderly to my not really to my bosom. It's well below bosom height. But the point is, I will be
Never
eating.
your bits.
It's sort of to my spleen, I think. I don't actually know where the spleen is, but somewhere in the middle.
It's up a bit, I think.
Then probably not my spleen. Large intestine?
Appendix?
Could be. I cradled it
Tenderly
to my appendix. Anyway, the point being that if that bothers you to see someone chewing, then don't watch this episode or skip to like 10 minutes in because I'm pretty much just going to unhinge my jaw like a snake.
Excellent. Or you could take a Post-it and put it on your screen right here.
I mean, I can turn off my camera.
Don't do that. Don't.
I didn't think you would want me to.
No. I love seeing you chew. I don't mind.
Oh, this is already taking a turn. Did you? I don't know if you can see, by the way, what I named the episode.
No, I can't see it at all. Oh, further Dingle adventure.
They're still in the dingle.
They
And
are
the summary is, it means a valley, we swear, in all caps. And today it's your turn. What?
Yes.
I was going to say, it's your turn
Yes.
to try and read the word dingle without laughing.
I'm up for the challenge. Should be a YouTube challenge. just the challenge ought to be like read 4 pages of Tolkien without laughing at the unavoidable but completely unmeant innuendos.
Yeah, it's like trying to read Georgette Hare. You just have to get past the way she uses the word ejaculate and everything will be fine.
Everyone's always ejaculating.
I mean, we started reading those books when I was like 10, so that was the only meaning I knew for the word, and I didn't get why you and Mom thought it was so funny.
And then when people were like, what do you like to read? I would say Georgette Hare. Oh, what does she write? Well, she writes Regency romances, not dirty ones, even though the word ejaculate does come into it.
I see what you did there.
I didn't mean to do that. It's like they're clean. They're very clean. They're like, uh-huh. Sure. They're clean. They're like snappy Jane Austen.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Anyway.
in the 20th century, and she did her research, but then she made up some shit. And apparently she is the industry standard. So other writers who do different research and come up with different results and write about those are flagged for not being Hare-like enough.
Yeah, there's a general level of misconception about what actually was true in that historical period and what Georgette Hare just made up. Like most of the slang, for example, I think she made up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the barouches are more trendy than landaules was just a thing that she made up. Like,
I was today years old when I learned that you don't pronounce the T in landaulet. I've been calling them landaulettes for 22 years. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay. I have that problem with beignets, or I had. Beignets. Makes them sound cuter.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Maybe if you make them tiny, they spell it with an extra T and an E. And then it's beignets.
There's a post going around online about terrible donut flavors. I don't know why this made me think of it, but well, it's not that they're objectively bad, most of them. It's more like, here is a list of donut flavors by how much they fill me with rage because they're so fucking hipster. And one of them is a buttered toast flavored donut, and the caption is, God, I'm so tired. I'm white too, and I'm just so tired.
Oh, I saw and saved a post that reframed the 10 degrees of pain as classical paintings. I don't know if my screen will pick up a screen. Hang on 2 seconds. I know I can find it again.
In my experience, probably not, but you never know. Not that you can't
Right?
find it, that your screen won't pick it up.
My screen will not pick it up because that's not how technology works, but we might get lucky. Will we get lucky? And if you can't read them, we've got one is Vermeer. I feel a little twinge now and then. It's the girl with the pearl earring. All the way up to 10, Dali, not even human anymore.
So I can't see them very well. Like I can see that there's an image on the screen, but it's just so small.
Right.
Yeah. I can't.
They're good.
I can't.
I'll send them to you at some point. Sorry, everybody. I know I'm so analog.
Look, not all of us can recognize classical paintings from a postage stamp sized image on a screen.
Yeah.
I will take your word for it.
I've been wanting when I pick up the Old Masters, the Steampunk Old Masters project again, I've been wanting to do the girl with the pearl earring, but I've been trying to figure out a way to make that steampunk that isn't just like put a top hat on it or turn the pearl earring into a cog.
The girl with the pearl eye.
Ooh. That might do it. We'll talk about it later. Some of them don't fight at all, like Whistler's Automaton. I have to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Scream Punk, that one painted itself. Although it turned out weird looking, but I think it was supposed to.
Yep.
Do.
All right, I'm going to go on mute and finish eating this pizza before it gets cold, but I will see you as and when I have comments to make.
Okay, I keep skipping past the part where they meet Quick Beam. Where's my Quick Beam? Where's Quick Beam at? I
don't think they've met him yet.
Exactly, but I keep going from we haven't reached the Dingle to we're marching to Isengard, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, there's a chunk in the middle there.
Far away was a pale green glimmer that Mary guessed to be a glimpse of the plains of Rohan. I wonder where Isengard is, said Pippin. I don't know quite where we are, said Mary, but that peak is probably Methedras, and as far as I can remember, the ring of Isengard lies in a fork or deep cleft at the end of the mountains. It is probably down behind this great ridge. There seems to be a smoke or haze over there, left of the peak, don't you think? What is Isengard like? Said Pippin. I wonder what Ents can do about it anyway. So do I, said Mary. Isengard is a sort of ring of rocks or hills, I think, with a flat space inside, and an island or pillar of rock in the middle, called Orthanc. The reader already knows this, but Pippin does not.
How does Mary know this?
He read the maps when they were in...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, Deus Ex Mary, what are you doing? Okay, no, that makes sense. Also, as we've said many times of various conversations in Tolkien, it's geographical exposition. It has to go somewhere.
Saruman has a tower on it. The funny thing about this is his description is a little wrong, like it would be if you just kind of gleaned it from maps back in Imladris. Rivendell, there we go. There is a gate. Perhaps more than one.
What I was going to say that I have been stopping you for this whole time while I was chewing is that I love that you could remember the name in Elvish. Back in Ladris, what's the Rivendell? That's right.
No. No.
I do. I just love that's what you said first.
There is a gate, perhaps more than one, in the encircling wall, and I believe there is a stream running through it. It comes out of the mountains and flows on across the gap of Rohan. It does not seem the sort of place for Ents to tackle. But I have an odd feeling about these Ents. Somehow I don't think they are quite as safe and, well, funny as they seem. They seem slow, queer, and patient, almost sad, and yet I believe they could be roused. If that happened, I would rather not be on the other side. Yes, said Pippin. I know what you mean.
Also, look, they lost the Entwives several thousand years ago, so at this point, are you going to blame them for being queer?
They've got to be queer, and I think they could be roused.
I'd really rather not be on the other side.
Yes, said Pippin. I know what you mean. There might be all the difference between an old cow sitting and thoughtfully chewing and a bull charging, and the change might come suddenly. I wonder if Treebeard will rouse them. I am sure he means to try, but they don't like being roused. Treebeard got roused himself last night and then bottled it up again. The hobbits turned back. We're losing the challenge. We made up the challenge and we're losing the challenge.
You haven't even had to say Dingle yet.
I got roused. The Hobbit
This is a family show. No, it's not. Not even a little bit. No.
I mean, this evening I told my children at the dinner table an anecdote about an acid trip I had once where I lost all my short-term memory and ended up drinking somebody else's loogie that they spat into a Snapple bottle, and I watched them do it and then forgot that I had watched them do it and then drank the Snapple and then had to spit that out again. And it was one of those anecdotes that I told my family. So
first of all, the majority of your children are teenagers. Yeah. And second of all, I'm eating. Come on.
Okay, sorry.
You and your memento anecdotes.
It's so bizarre. And the funny part was the kid who did the Snapple thing, he called himself Chaos. He just sort of joined our menage, and we figured he was another lost boy because we had those. And spent the weekend with me and my friends in a hotel room, just mostly doing acid and being silly. And on Monday, when we all came back downtown, there were "Have you seen this child?" posters all over. And it was him. Like, goes by Chaos, looks like this, 16 years old, last seen wearing, please contact his family. And we were like, that little shit isn't missing. He's with us. Why the hell didn't he tell his family where he was? Like that? What a bastard.
Can't trust those boys that call themselves Chaos.
No. with a K and an A in a circle.
I'm not even surprised. I had already called the K. Like, I already knew it was with a K.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're out there somewhere and you survived all that nonsense, hi. I'm a housewife.
Read to me about the Ents.
The hobbits turned back. The voices of the Ents were still rising and falling in their conclave. The sun had now risen high enough to look over the high hedge. It gleamed on the tops of the birches and lit the northward side of the dingle with a cool yellow light. There they saw a little glittering fountain. They walked along the rim of the great bowl at the feet of the evergreens. It was pleasant to feel cool grass about their toes again and not to be in a hurry. And now that is a qualifier that they've just sort of added to so they don't have to remember cool grass in conjunction with orcs driving them with whips. What
Yep.
an interesting way to deal with your trauma, right?
I mean, here's the thing, right? Is that the things that become PTSD triggers, this is way to overanalyze Tolkien, but the things that become PTSD triggers are the things surrounding the traumatic event that your brain comes to associate with the traumatic event,
Oh yeah.
not usually the actual event itself.
Yeah.
So cool grass could have very easily become a trigger for them if they didn't take the time to reassociate it as a positive association
Which
right
is what
now with
they're doing
Treebeard.
right now, yeah. Gosh, it's nice to not be in a hurry. It's such a gentle way of saying I refuse to associate this with that. I like it.
Hobbits are very good at dealing with trauma, is what we're learning.
Yeah.
Thank God, because they all go through so much of it.
There's enough Tolkien scholars out there. Someone should write like dealing with your trauma like a hobbit. Because they're willing to tell their stories. They never put themselves in denial or over dramatize or under dramatize. They're very, very straightforward about the shit they've been through.
I mean, they slightly under dramatize, like they're joking around, but
Okay.
you also have to do that, you know.
Yeah. And then they climbed down to the gushing water. They drank a little, a clean, cold, sharp draught, and sat down on a mossy stone, watching the patches of sun on the grass and the shadows of the sailing clouds passing over the floor of the dingle. The murmur of the Ents went on. It seemed a very strange and remote place, outside their world and far from everything that had ever happened to them. A great longing came over them for the faces and voices of their companions, especially for Frodo and Sam, and for Strider. At last there came a pause in the Ent voices, and looking up, they saw Treebeard coming towards them, with another Ent at his side. Here I am again, said Treebeard. Are you getting weary or feeling impatient? Eh? Well, I am afraid that you must not get impatient yet. We have finished the first stage now, but I have still got to explain things again to those that live a long way off, far from Isengard, and those that I could not get round to before the moot. And after that we shall have to decide what to do. However, deciding what to do does not take Ents so long as going over all the facts and events that they have to make up their minds about. Still, it is no use denying we shall be here a long time yet. A couple of days, very likely. So I have brought you...
This is just giving me big, like, committee meeting vibes right now. We've got to go over it again for those who I couldn't get to the first time round. Like, yep,
yeah.
done that.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
A couple of days, very likely. Long committee meeting. So I have brought you a companion. He has an ant house nearby. Bregalad is his elvish name. He says he has already made up his mind and does not need to remain at the moot. Wish we could do that with meetings.
uh, I had a.
Do the coffee run.
Yeah, we had a meeting at work today and someone actually tried to do that and we had to be like, no, you need to stay in the meeting.
None of this nonsense, please. You are not Bregalad.
Yeah. And someday it will be funny. Today, not so much.
No. Oh, see, I do that and then I'm like, whom he is the nearest thing among us to a hasty ent. You ought to get on together. Goodbye. Treebeard turned and left them. Bregalad stood for some time surveying the hobbits solemnly, and they looked at him, wondering when he would show any signs of hastiness. Awkward. He was tall and seemed to be one of the younger Ents. He had smooth, shining skin on his arms and legs. His lips were ruddy and his hair was gray-green. He could bend and sway like a slender tree in the wind. At last he spoke, and his voice, though resonant, was higher and clearer than Treebeard's. My friend, let us go for a walk, he said. I am Bregalad. That is Quickbeam in your language. But it is only a nickname, of course. They have called me that ever since I said yes to an elder Ent before he had finished his question. Also, I drink quickly and go out while some are still wetting their beards. Come with me. He reached down 2 shapely arms and gave a long-fingered hand to each of the hobbits. All that day they... What?
Shapely was just a weird adjective in this context.
I mean...
Just saying. Like...
No, nobody suffers when there's arbor-files about, is all. Harms no one.
I don't have a response for that. Oh, no, I do. Splinters.
Well, that's why you're lucky when you find someone whose limbs are shapely and smooth.
I'll just be over here.
All that day they walked about in the woods with him, singing and laughing. For Quickbeam often laughed. He laughed if the sun came out from behind a cloud. He laughed if they came upon a stream or spring. Then he stooped and splashed his feet and head with water. He laughed sometimes at some sound or whisper in the trees. Whenever he saw a rowan tree, he halted a while with his arms stretched out and sang and swayed as he sang. At nightfall, he brought them to his ant house. Are you meant to have your camera off?
Yeah, I just had it turned off for a second. I'm back.
Okay. Nothing more than a mossy stone set upon turfs under a green bank. Rowan trees grew in a circle about it, and there was water, as in all ant houses, a spring bubbling out from the bank. They talked for a while as darkness fell on the forest. Not far away, the voices of the Entmoot could be heard still going on, but now they seemed deeper and less leisurely, and every now and again one great voice would rise in a high and quickening music while all the others died away. But beside them, Bregalad spoke gently, in their own tongue, almost whispering, and they learned that he belonged to Skinbark's people, and the country where they had lived had been ravaged. That seemed to the hobbits quite enough to explain his hastiness, at least in the matter of orcs. There were rowan trees in my home, said Bregalad softly and sadly. Rowan trees that took root when I was an enting, many, many years ago, in the quiet of the world. The oldest were planted by the Ents to try and please the Entwives, but they looked at them and smiled and said that they knew where whiter blossom and richer fruit were growing. Yet there are no trees of all that race, the people of the rose, that are so beautiful to me. And these trees grew and grew till the shadow of each was like a green hall, and their red berries in the autumn were a burden and a beauty and a wonder. Birds used to flock there. I like birds, even when they chatter, and the rowan has enough and to spare. But the birds became unfriendly and greedy, and tore at the trees, and threw the fruit down, and did not eat it. Then the orcs came with axes, and cut down my trees. Song alert, but it's a short one, so we'll read it. I came and called them by their long names, but they did not quiver, they did not hear or answer. They lay dead. O orafane lasamiste carnamirie, O rowan fair, upon your hair how white the blossom lay. O rowan mine, I saw you shine upon a summer's day, your rind so bright, your leaves so light, your voice so cool and soft. Upon your head how golden red the crown you bore aloft. O rowan dead, upon your head your hair is dry and grey. Your crown is spilled, your voice is stilled, forever and a day. O orafane lasamiste carnamirie. The hobbits fell asleep to the sound of the soft singing of Bregalad, that seemed to lament in many tongues the fall of trees that he had loved. That bit chokes me up, I won't lie, every time I read it.
Yeah, I'm very sad right now.
I'm sorry. The next day, we'll move on. We'll move on. Get past the... The next day they spent also in his company, but they did not go far from his house. Most of the time they sat silent under the shelter of the bank, for the wind was colder and the clouds closer and greyer. There was little sunshine, and in the distance the voices of the Ents at the moot still rose and fell, sometimes loud and strong, sometimes low and sad, sometimes quickening, sometimes slow and solemn as a dirge. A second night came, and still the Ents held conclave under hurrying clouds and fitful stars. The third day broke bleak and windy. At sunrise the Ents' voices rose to a great clamour and then died down again. As the morning wore on, the wind fell, and the air grew heavy with expectancy. The hobbits could see that Bregalad was now listening intently, although to them, down in the dell of his Ent house, the sound of the moot was faint. The afternoon came, and the sun, going west towards the mountains, sent out long yellow beams between the cracks and fissures of the clouds. Suddenly they were aware that everything was very quiet. Whole forest stood in listening silence. Of course, the Ent voices had stopped. What did that mean? Bregalad was standing up, erect and tense, looking back northwards toward Dingle. Then with a crash came a great ringing shout. Rahumrah! The trees quivered and bent as if a gust had struck them. There was another pause, and then a marching music began like solemn drums, and above the rolling beats and booms there welled voices singing high and strong. We come, with roll of drum, tarun, darun, darun, darum. The Ents were coming. Ever nearer and louder rose their song. We come, with horn and drum, taruna, runa, runa, rom. Bragolad picked up the hobbits and strode from his house. Before long they saw the marching line approaching. The Ents were swinging along with great strides down the slope towards them. Treebeard was at their head, and some 50 followers were behind him, 2 abreast, keeping step with their feet and beating time with their hands upon their flanks. As they drew near, the flash and flicker of their eyes could be seen. Boom, ahom! Here we come with a boom! Here we come at last! Called Treebeard when he caught sight of Bragolad and the hobbits. Come, join the moot. We are off. We are off to Isengard.
Huzzah!
To Isengard, the Ents cried in many voices. To Isengard! To Isengard, though Isengard be ringed and barred with... Wait. To Isengard, though Isengard be ringed and barred with doors of stone. Nope.
Jesus Christ, Tolkien, come on.
This is where... So I got lost, but I found it. Though Isengard be strong and hard, as cold as stone and bare as bone, we go, we go, we go to war, to hew the stone and break the door. For ball and bough are burning now, the furnace roars, we go to war. To land of gloom, with tramp of doom, with roll of drum, we come, we come. To Isengard with doom we come. With doom we come, with doom we come. They spent some time during the moot writing a marching song. Or somebody showed up with a song in hand and was like, in case we make this decision, I've been thinking about this for a while.
Or they're extremely good at extemporaneous verse.
Yes, soldiers can be. They've spent hundreds of years being what they are. Maybe that's just a skill that you pick up over time.
I mean, they write a lot of poetry.
They recite a lot of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So they sang as they marched southwards. To Isengard!
The
That's my thumbnail face.
Going to war.
Bragolad, his eyes shining, swung into the line beside Treebeard. The old Ent now took the hobbits back and set them on his shoulders again, and so they rode proudly at the head of the singing company with beating hearts and heads held high. Though they had expected something to happen eventually, they were amazed at the change that had come over the Ents. It seemed now as sudden as the bursting of a flood that has long been held back by a dike. The Ents made up their minds rather quickly after all, didn't they? Pippin ventured to say after some time, when for a moment the singing paused and only the beating of hands and feet were heard. Oh my god.
What?
Well, I saw stripes as a child and I compared them to soldiers, and now I see a double row of Ents going, here she comes, just a walking down the street.
She looked good. She looked good.
She looked fine.
Man, I haven't thought about that movie in a while.
I don't think it would hold up to current sociopolitical temperatures, frankly.
Yeah, you don't say.
War, sexism. That's it. It was a movie about war and sexism.
Yeah, I don't think that would hold up.
No.
But it's a shame because using Dua Diddy as a marching song was a really great idea.
Such a coup. And you know, putting Bill Murray in a movie about war and sexism is going to make it charming.
Yeah, it's a shame about that. By the
I
way,
love you now.
while we're paused, do you want to see the progress on my sweater?
It reminds me of not snowflake obsidian, but the rock that's like it's inverse.
Yeah, I can't think of which rock it is, but I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. So this is like normally you would have the smooth side out, but for this pattern you have the like bumpy side out so that it really accentuates the little speckly bits.
Oh, I love it. I
Thank you.
love
I'm
it
very
too.
excited about it. I've been knitting on it nonstop. It's like the only thing I want to work on. For anyone who watches us who knits, Hohi Locatelli. The name of the pattern is Spectre.
Like in the next few days.
Hmm?
But then I have three commissions to work on that are paying gigs, so I ought to do those. Like a handful of watercolors and some character designs. And also all I want to work on is zinc, because then I will have the turquoise row in the transition metals all done. And and I'm starting to sell them as individual prints on Etsy.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've a friend of mine already bought a couple, and I thank you, I love you, Jenny, and and I didn't expect that to happen because I think of them as one big project and not 118 small projects.
Indeed, but they're actually very charming individually as well, even if you don't have the whole context of all of
Right?
the others.
And it's astonishing how many people have like a favorite element. Like I was a little nonplussed, not nonplussed, bemused, whatever. One of those words that means slightly startled to learn that
That actually is nonplussed.
yeah,
It
but
means
non
both surprise. It means both surprised and also not surprised.
oh, okay. Yeah.
It's one of them. One of them words.
One of my children is really into bismuth, so they were really, really excited when I was working on bismuth, and I was like, I didn't know that.
Who's into bismuth?
Brown.
Oh.
They were given a set of a little cluster of the hopper crystals you get when you cool bismuth down. It forms those crystals.
Oh, yeah. Those really cool, like rainbowy ones.
They're
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous, and they happen to have gotten a set that were like by flag color,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
like so I did bismuth with them in mind. Like
I love it.
also bismuth is abbreviated to BI, which just cemented the whole thing. Everything about it is awesome to them. I would have painted them as bismuth, but I kept seeing bismuth as like a big buff dude in hopper crystal armor standing in the doorway, and I can't argue with my muse. My muse is in charge.
No. Well, and it doesn't sound like they mind that.
Not even remotely. And yeah, bite the paintbrush on Etsy. Go get yourself an element. There's only a few out now, but you could always send me a message being like, "Where's blah? Blah blah." I will listen.
Indeed. If you have seen Robin working on any and you're like, yo, that's my favorite element.
Right?
Let
Or
her know.
even I never felt particularly about
Cadmium.
and well, I haven't done cadmium yet. Oh, you're gonna love cadmium. You're gonna love cadmium. Like the superhero pose.
Oh yeah.
And cadmium's handle is challenge, and I decided to take that bit where in The Last Unicorn where Schmendrick is fighting with Rook, and he has this string of insults that's like starts out really like high fantasy and ends with "you mess with me." Pestilence, you waste, you disease. I'll turn your heart into green sheep and everything, or into green grass and everything you love into sheep. I'll turn you into a bad poet with dreams. You mess with me.
Mess with me. While you were telling that story, I found out that I fucked up mildly spectacularly about 2 rows back, and I'm not going to fix it.
Okay. Wabi Sabi?
Exactly.
Okay.
Literally no one will ever be able to tell because these tiny little like cabled stitches with how variegated the yarn is, like you can't even really see them. So you're definitely not going to notice that these two right here are going in the wrong direction.
Nope.
Nope. No one's ever going to see them.
Nope.
Don't care. Not fixing it.
But if you bring it up, when you see them wearing that sweater, they'll know that you watched this. So
that's true. It's like a secret thing. It's like when people on Tumblr try to identify each other by saying, I like your shoelaces. And then the other person says, thanks, I stole them from the president.
That's not one that I get. I do know the secret word that you can say to Neil Patrick Harris to tell him that you read his Choose Your Own autobiography all the way straight through without skipping anything. Because there's a page that no other page leads you to. And he's like, if you say this word, I'll know that you read.
I just really, oh, damn it, I just fucked this up too. This is okay. I only fucked up like 3 stitches back. It's fine.
Okay. I need to quit talking to you, though. Let's just do
please. I was going to say, please don't. That's kind of the point of us being here. We're going to sit here in silence. This is going to get real awkward.
Well, I need to stop trying to engage you. Like, stop paying attention to your knitting. I'm right here. Yeah.
I can multitask. Just sometimes multitasking means that I fuck up a little bit and I have to fix it. It's fine.
I should quote you somewhere in the book.
You should. I'm very quotable.
The other thing Jenny did was start supporting my Patreon. So, like, buying my print, supporting my Patreon.
What a lovely human.
What a lovely human. They also adore Douglas Adams so much they have a dodo tattoo and a DNA necklace. And I'm like, okay, so that right there, that's pure nerd. And I love it. Yeah. Kind of like how if I was to get a Doctor Who tattoo, it wouldn't be a TARDIS, it would be Bessie. Because only people who know about it.
Bessie.
When John Pertwee was the Doctor, his TARDIS was taken away, so instead he had like an old, I don't even remember what model of car it was. It was just an old open 1920s something or other, bright yellow, named Bessie. And he worked with UNIT, and he threw punches while wearing dandy clothes, and he's my favorite.
I've never really watched classic Who. I watched Doctor Who very dedicatedly for several years, and then I don't think I've watched it since I broke up with Ben.
Well, I mean, when you've been through trauma, you tend to associate the peripheral stuff.
All right, look, we're getting too real. Go back to Lord of the Rings, please.
The Ents made up their minds rather quickly after all, didn't they? Pippin ventured to say after some time, when for a moment the singing paused, and only the beating of hands and feet was heard. Quickly, said Treebeard. Whom? Yes, indeed. Quicker than I expected. Indeed, I have not seen them roused like this for many an age. We Ents do not like being roused, and we never are roused unless it is clear to us that our trees and our lives are in great danger. That has not happened in this forest since the wars of Sauron and the Men of the Sea. It is this orc work, the wanton hewing, rarum, without even the bad excuse of feeding the fires, that has so angered us, and the treachery of a neighbor who should have helped us. Wizards ought to know better. They do know better. There is no curse in Elvish, Entish, or the tongues of men bad enough for such treachery. Down with Saruman!
Do you think that Saruman actually did know better? Or do you think he thought the Ents were sleepy because he'd only ever seen them sleepy?
He knew better than to be a shitty neighbor.
Sure. I was just thinking about, like, because the wizards were summoned after the last time the Ents had gone to battle, so he probably had no idea what they
No,
were capable of.
none at all. But the thing, I think it's not that he's ignorant of what they could do when they're angry. It's that he learned their secrets. Treebeard said he spoke to me a bunch, and so he knows the trees are sentient. He knows the trees are people, and he went
Yep.
ahead and did this. Like, if he thought trees were inanimate objects, if he was Sid, as has been pointed out by YouTubers in the past, in Toy Story, Sid is supposed to be this terrible bad kid who's a villain that gets his comeuppance, but the thing is, he didn't know that the toys were alive. If he'd known that and been slaughtering them and performing experiments on them anyway, then he would be evil, and then he would be Saruman. Saruman is Sid who knew and did it anyway.
Sin is thinking of people as things.
Thank you, Granny Weatherwax. Oh, Jesus.
Think about that quote every damn day.
Oh, my God. Yeah, including yourself. Will you really break the doors of Isengard? Asked Mary. Oh, well, we could, you know. You do not know, perhaps, how strong we are. Maybe you have heard of trolls. They are mighty strong. But trolls are only counterfeits, made by the enemy in the great darkness in mockery of Ents, as orcs were of elves. We are stronger than trolls. We are made of the bones of the earth. We can split stone like the roots of trees, only quicker, far quicker, if our minds are roused. If we are not hewn down or destroyed by fire or blast of sorcery, we could split Isengard into splinters and crack its walls into rubble. But Saruman will try to stop you, won't he? Yes, that is so. I have not forgotten it. Indeed, I have thought long about it. But, you see, many of the Ents are younger than I am, by many lives of trees. They are all roused now, and their mind is all on one thing: breaking Isengard.
I was going to say, those Ents only want one thing, honey.
Yeah. All they want to do is break your Isengard.
Ew.
But they will start thinking again before long. They will cool down a little when we take our evening drink. What a thirst we shall have! But let them march now and sing. We have a long way to go, and there is time ahead for thought. It is something to have started. Treebeard marched on, singing with the others for a while. We've got this much left of the chapter, so we're going to go ahead.
Yeah.
But after a time, his voice died to a murmur and fell silent again. Pippin could see that his old brow was wrinkled and knotted. At last he looked up, and Pippin could see a sad look in his eyes. Sad, but not unhappy. Another description I really, really love. There was a light in them, as if the green flame had sunk deeper into the dark wells of his thought. Of course, it is likely enough, my friends, he said slowly. Likely enough that we are going to our doom, the last march of the Ents. But if we stayed at home and did nothing, doom would find us anyway, sooner or later. That thought has long been growing in our hearts, and that is why we are marching now. It was not a hasty resolve. Now at least the last march of the Ents may be worth a song. Aye, he sighed, we may help the other peoples before we pass away. Still, I should have liked to see the songs come true about the Entwives. I should dearly have liked to see Fimbrethil again. But there, my friends, songs, like trees, bear fruit only in their own time and their own way, and sometimes they are withered untimely. The Ents went striding on at a great pace. They had descended into a long fold of the land that fell away southwards. Now they began to climb up, and up, on to the high western ridge. The woods fell away, and they came to scattered groups of birch, and then to bare slopes where only a few gaunt pine trees grew. The sun sank behind the dark hillback in front. Grey dusk fell. Pippin looked behind. The number of Ents had grown, or what was happening? Where the dim, bare slopes that they had crossed should lie, he thought he saw groves of trees, but they were moving. Could it be that the trees of Fangorn were awake, and the forest was rising, marching over the hills to war? He rubbed his eyes, wondering if sleep and shadow had deceived him, but the great grey shapes moved steadily onward. There was a noise like wind in many branches. The Ents were drawing near the crest of the ridge now, and all song had ceased. Night fell, and there was silence. Nothing was to be heard save a faint quiver of the earth beneath the feet of the Ents, and a rustle, the shade of a whisper as of many drifting leaves. At last they stood upon the summit and looked down into a dark pit, the great cleft at the end of the mountains, Nan Kuranir, the Valley of Saruman. Night lies over Isengard, said Treebeard.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. No more dinglage.
I shall have to call the next episode a lack of dinglage. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, on that note,
Indeed.
I think I shall sleep.
Okay, that's a good idea. Wish me luck getting Abby's schooling sorted. We had a rough start today. It was not what it should have been.
Good luck, darling.
I love you.
I love you too.
See you Sunday.
Yes, indeed.
Cuidado.
Liamas.